Can we talk about the Vore fetish?
Yeah.
I'm so interested. So I'm a big Neil Gaiman fan, and so Bilquis also I think is also pronounced Bilquis or Bilquis.
Bilquis. Yes,
Bilquis.
American Gods. I know what you're talking about.
Yes, it's one of my favorite books. I never saw the show, but it's one of my favorite books. And can I just say that scene, when that scene came on with Bilquis and that man, I had to put the book down and I had to masturbate furiously because I was so turned on. I mean, why lie? Who gives a shit about TMI at this point? Why fucking lie? It was so hot because he was all like, oh, it feels so good. And she was like, oh, yeah. And she's like sucking him in to her vagina. It was awesome. Can we talk about that?
We can. I actually just saw that
insertion.
Scene. Insertion? Is that what that counts as?
It's like pussy Vore.
Oh!
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's a thing.
You do?
Oh, yeah.
So,
I can talk about Vore, though.
Yes, please.
In general.
Yes, please.
So, I guess I can say that the simple answer
unbirthing.
is...
Everybody's saying unbirthing in chat.
It's called unbirthing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I did not mean to interrupt you, sorry.
Oh, no, it's kind of like the simple form of Vore is kind of like I said to you, Mim, it's like a power exchange, right? Mm-hmm. And like, I couple it a lot with the size play fantasy, right? Because I'm into the giantess and all that stuff too. So when it comes to like size play fantasy and that kind of role play, it's about domination and submissiveness. So one part is experiencing that greater power through growth and consuming another individual or just being larger. And then on the other side is experiencing like lesser, being surrounded by power, being smaller, being consumed and crushed and kind of surrendering yourself.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Sorry,
that's kind of the thrill of it, basically.
I mean, your voice.
I mean, it's
like I wouldn't even know you were consuming me because I'd be like, just keep talking, just keep talking.
So, I guess my introduction to Vore when I first really started, learning about it was actually a lot of little comics of giant Lamia anime girls eating smaller people. And that's where I started to kind of understand it, and there was a lot of fun play involved with it that people could come up with, like teasing the person you're about to eat with your giant tongue, and like...
Oh, yes.
And
that's a good one.
And
like just dangling them and just like giving them like this giant blowjob, or teasing their, lady parts or whatever parts they have, and just, using them as a lollipop, or like you can do lots of fun things.
Oh my. But as far as Vore goes, so then the actual see, I never really talked to someone that could explain how the power fantasy part of it. To me, it was always this idea of like, it's really sexy of the thought of being devoured, like, losing that power to protect yourself, but then you're devoured whole, and you have this feeling of being like a full body hug and surrounded by warmth, and you're all gooey and sticky. It's like you're going down a giant lube chamber, and you're just being rubbed all over, and
and it's different for everybody too, right? Everybody likes different aspects of it or different types, and so like I got introduced to it actually through Cultist.
Really?
He introduced me to it, and he was like, "This is kind of what I'm interested in." And to be fair, a lot of people that like Vore and growth and all that stuff are very closeted, because it's one of those fetishes that people think about and they go, oh, who wants to eat people, right? That's kind of weird. Or like, who wants to like giant women? Like, I can't even please her. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they think they're not thinking outside of the box, right? So they're very, very, I don't want to tell anybody about this.
Yeah.
So it's very polarizing. Yeah. Like, it's one of those things, and Cultist said to me, I kind of like this stuff. And I said, okay, well, can you explain it to me then? like make me understand this. And he was very, very kind of nervous about telling me about it because it's like you said, it was one of those polarizing fetishes.
Yeah.
I'm very, very progressive and open-minded. So I'm like, okay, fine, just let me explain to you, show me some art. Show me some, stories. So he would show me stories and art. You'd explain it to me. And he'd explain it to me just kind of how I explained it to you all. And it made a lot of sense. And I was like, oh, this is actually kind of sexy. I don't know if I'd like to be the submissive in this because it's not really my thing. I'm more lean towards dom, like more of a gentle femdom. But like, I kind of like the idea of being the powerful woman that's going to take care of you and or use you. So that's kind of how I got into it and started to like it.
That's
That's cool.
and that is such an awesome relationship dynamic to have too, where you can just listen like that and share.
The bigger
Like,
the woman, the more to love.
Be open about what you like and have it be a safe space.
yes,
Right? Because some people are afraid to bring up fetishes to their partners, and they're like, I kind of like this stuff, and they're afraid their partner's gonna be like, what? What do you mean? What is this? Right? And that's like the worst way you can react.
it's kind
to
of
someone.
going back to that fear of confrontation. Yeah, it's that same kind of instinct, that fear of being rejected. Really.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Nobody
like
likes that.
the taboo thing, right? Like, I really want to try this thing, but if I express this to this person, are they gonna think I'm a freak? Not like a good freak, but like a bad freak. And then I'm like, oh, ha ha ha, just kidding, which I would never do anyway. I'd be like, no, I'm not kidding. Like, this is something that I'm really into. But yeah, like, I understand why people have that fear. It's happened to me before. It's like, are we at the point here where I tell you about this thing? Or, so I mean, I get that.
Yeah, I still have that trouble sometimes with folks. I still, even with partners that I've known for years and years and years, I still have trouble sometimes talking about some things because that fear of rejection is still so strong.
Exactly, right?
Yeah, it makes you feel ashamed of who you are. And I just can't. I have got a lifetime of where I have felt that way a lot, and I just can't have that in my life anymore. So I have to really protect myself and be really careful,
Exactly. And that's kind of why I think I picked like being a Vore type goddess, because I wanted to talk about this stuff that a lot of people didn't want to talk about. And I wanted this kind of fetish to be a bit more normalized and have the people that are afraid to talk about it be like, okay, it's okay to talk about this. And I've gotten fan mail about people that are just like, thank you for, helping me come to terms with what I like and being able to talk about it, because I feel like I can't. But now you're talking about it, so I feel like I'm able to. And I'm like, that really makes me feel good.
That's so awesome.
Thank you. That's really cool.
So, and with, God, I have so many thoughts and questions and statements and like in my head. Like, there's such a good conversation happening right now. There's a lot of potential for bridge building. And what you're talking about, and like so would you say it's fair to say that a big part of your reasoning for becoming a VTuber was to, specifically for that reason, was to kind of make it more okay to talk about by you being the first person to openly talk about it?
I don't know if I'm the first VTuber to openly talk about it.
Okay.
But I would say that that's probably played a part in it because, like I said, like my partner enjoys this stuff. I enjoy doing it with my partner. I don't want my partner to feel like they can't talk about this stuff or they're too embarrassed to talk about this stuff. And I'm like, fine, I'll just do it for you. Like, that's important to me. And I want people who have this fetish to feel like, they're welcome and they can like it and it's okay, and not feel like, oh, I have to keep this to myself and, I don't want people to dislike me for it.
Yeah. Still on my way home, says Zolan, but because of you, Vex, I am proud of the thing I enjoy now. I will happily talk to anyone and explain Vore and size play fetishes now, and that's all thanks to the wonder that is you. Thank you, my God.
No, thank you.
Monster, I was kind of inspired in a similar way with Monster Island, and actually Prism and I talked about this, a long time ago, that really one of the things that, and the thing that spurred that on was, like you said, that feeling of shame, that feeling of, I can't be myself, and it was killing me. I had spent so long in the closet on so many things about who I was, not just my gender identity, but my sexuality and my fetishes, my kinkdom, and I had hidden that all for so long, and so much of it was because of polarization. It's still polarizing. Like, people still polarize being a furry. People still polarize any sort of queerdom. People polarize. There's so many things, especially in our culture, in North American culture, that get that treatment, and it has caused so much harm.
Exactly.
It has caused so many people to retreat and to feel ashamed and to live in shame too. They are trapped because they are not allowed to truthfully be themselves. Again, we're coming back to the truth will set you free. I mean, I have someone who's very, very close to me that is not only is furry, and they feel safer coming out as the fact that they are a gay man who married my friend's white. They married a Hispanic man, and they live in Texas. So not only are they gay, but they're also a mixed racial and partnership and everything. And he is more comfortable saying that out loud than saying he is furry in Texas, or saying that he is into water, like being underwater. Like, that's his kink. Is being pleasured while underwater. I guess kind of a Vore thing, not really Vore, but being enveloped.
Consume?
Yeah,
Yeah.
And it took that person longer to tell me that they were to come out to me that they it took them longer to tell me that thing about their furrydom and their fetish than it was for them to come out to me. And like, that's how in America, that is how polarized some of these things are. And people are never going to feel, people are never going to feel like it is okay for them to step out of that shame, unless a lot of people are not going to feel comfortable to step out of that shame unless they see someone do it first.
Exactly.
And that's kind of where Monster Island came from.
But what you're doing here is wonderful, really.
And
You're
that's why I
creating a safe space for so many people.
I want no one to ever feel like the hashtag, like, no shame. No shame is, I think, our biggest message. To sum it up, is leave shame behind and live authentically. As long as you are not hurting somebody against their will and all parties can consent, do whatever the fuck you want and be happy with it.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, and I hope that more and more people are able to feel free through the stuff that we talk about and the things that we show, just by being our goofy, silly selves.
Thank you so much
You know,
for having this conversation.
that's one of the reasons why I wanted to find people like, that's why, like, I reached out to you, Vex and Spite,
Thank you for all you do.
because you also you are also creating a space for people to be safe, and you are also creating a community for people to feel that they can join that community and fully be themselves. And
That's my major hope.
yeah,
That's what I've always wanted, is for people to feel safe and comfortable in their own fetishes.
love how you want who you want to love, how you want to love, and feel no shame. That's our message.
Yes.